Day 20 July 2023, 5 o'clock, 50 minutes, 52 minutes, Rio de Janeiro City, Brazil. We observe that we have one theory at the criminal science, and probably have in Brazil, that is the efficacy of the regret. It kind of, if you give up an action as criminal action before have the result or the harmful situation, it will be something that you can consider. But some behaviors are illegal as itself, like if this efficacy of regret is applied to a single individual as a perpetrator of a crime. The planning activity as crime, which implies a complex structure, can't be take advantage or obtain this benefit, because the plan a crime is a illegal activity as itself. We will invite you to take a look if you are offering the proof, for instance, as a mathematical proof. We will have that in general, if you would like to put this proof down, you will set the cognitive bias. And this goes if you are using a record by the records. In Brazil, you please take a look on Article 170 of the Constitution, that she has speaks about in general guidelines as the economic order, which will have the clause number 2, the private property. The first one, the sovereignty, which implies do not have criminals using the power, so the sovereignty got down. The clause number 3, it's the free competition at the market, that got harmed when you have the state acting as the sponsorship of criminal peers, and violating also the Article 173. And the Article 170 guarantee, clause number 5, it's the consumer that must be protected by the state, as you can observe, have no sovereignty to do this. And of course that the consumer will be threatened by the lack of capacity, so bring things to the security in the interest of we all. We can act as foreigner, observing the guarantees we have on Article 5. And we will check that the Article 227-26, it's told that the family is the base of the society, having special protection of the state. But the state has no sovereignty, as we prove it by law. Just reading your Constitution, Brazil. Then we'll put things as risk threats. And 144, the international community will protect, for instance, the family. Now we will move. We will review this board, considering, and I'm not going to make the entire board. We have the 1 up to 197 as nations. You don't have a constitution in all nations, but you have a public budget in all nations. In 5 continents as public area, in 5 continents as corporative area. Different groups with interaction through institutional fail on public and corporate, setting the architecture ruled by fail, with purpose as fail to continue the activity. And of course that if you claim your rights must have the integrity. which implies no fails, but it's a system based on fail will suppress your right until have, as we proved, no sovereignty to act by law or present the transparency and the accountability required by this credit as international credit doing the audit and offering the mathematical proof to the International Criminal Court, the entire judicial system and defensive system at the global arena that we have. We will observe that this, as could prove, reduced my right, and I reply back using the budget as records on it, which implies the misuse of state and institutional power by specific hands. If you planned the murder of someone by a car crash, for instance, and this victim give up and didn't had the death even by a premonition, they all wouldn't have the right as the efficacious of the regret as a structured plan. But the victim by itself took this by always when the premonition put the victim out of the situation, but the criminal plan exists. All guilty. We will check that, for instance, I will observe that the public area and the cooperative area against someone that complains the integrity of their own rights, which implies the rights of we all. We will observe that we'll have some kind of activity that will put the public area and the cooperative area in touch by records or illicit activity as the premise of this failure structure, not covered anymore, if goes at the consume and the state has no sovereignty to act, and planning the continuity of all things by fail as criminal purpose based on corruption and fake record, they can't regret anymore. And if the consume is a diffuse area, we set our universal group asset theory with the public departments and the corporations related with threatening the consume of a single individual representing discredit and no interest, doing the judicial charge and requesting all consequences affordable by integrity of right, and the right is a reply. Going all this in Brazil by Article 5, Guarantee Number 5. 1 up to 20 as G20. If Brazil is on it by peers on G20 by silence since we requested the plea bargain of heads leading each one of those states and G20 in solidarity by silence at this failure at this scam, threatening the right of a single individual representing the integrity of the credit to present the mathematical proof to the International Criminal Court and others, requiring one more time the right as the court, all courts, to recognize and have the recognition of the case with the integrity deserved by them. Observe that they all has failure as judicial power or institution. But I'm a single individual and I'm claiming my right and pushing things back to the integrity deserved by we all, because as you can observe, the threats I suffer at my right as consumer in a consume relationship by interference, changing the records, the activity, of course, that we, for instance, set the interval as test of hypothesis test as static control that will have the risk at least in a relation considering the context between states or public area, corporative area, related both by the failure with stochastic process of failure and crimes modified by the fake records going on specific hands, and the silence as blind eye combined both as the angle stone of distrust scam that indeed is already dismantled by the universe set theory that put normative barriers and limits, and by limits you can observe that the public area and the corporative area will have some areas that are failured, and the failure of those areas going in a diffuse interest affected we all. One more time having this, and we all are affected. For instance, in Brazil, when Brazil has no integrity at the sovereignty to follow their own constitutional rules, guarantees, or premises. In other words, we are observing that the Brazilian state, for instance, is having their own, is doing the factorization of itself. It's system management. It's named the entropy. When your premises as activity do not respect the conditions of existence, so you start, for instance, to erase yourself, and this is going global scale. For sure is cultural destruction too, premise corruption. Anything else I can do? Request the conviction of all by all crimes. If you had, for instance, this event as a consumer relation in Brazil, considering the global company Nissan with the beer Renault, the interference made as criminal purpose by the association of both observed at the consumer relationship, this clustered group must be on embassies Japan and France to present their reasons. For instance, if the interference is related with the criminal activity or a criminal plan. Structured, no excuse, no efficacy of regret, you can turn it back. This is applied at the trust. You can turn it back, but the scam is dismantled and the consequence required. And many of you are cracked because in many cases, going by state power misused is a treasonous act.